A man like him would never choose you. Open the gift box, Jordan. Oh!
The moment my ex-husband opened the black gift box, he screamed so loudly that every person at our son's birthday party stopped moving. The music kept playing, but nobody danced. Teenagers froze beside the swimming pool. Parents lowered their drinks. My 15-year-old son Liam stared at his father from the diving board. Then a gold USB drive, a red leather ledger, and several photographs spilled across the patio. My ex-husband looked down at them and went completely pale. He thought he had come to the party to humiliate me. He had no idea the man standing beside me was about to destroy his life. My name is Sarah Bennett. I was 42 years old, a mother of 4, and newly divorced after a 20-year marriage. For most of those 20 years, I believed my husband, Jordan, loved me. We met during college. He proposed 2 weeks after graduation, and I said yes before he finished asking. We built a life in a quiet neighborhood outside Atlanta. We bought a warm brick house with a pool in the backyard. We raised 3 older children, and then unexpectedly, we welcomed our 4th child, a baby girl named Emma. I thought Emma's birth would bring us closer. Instead, 6 months after she was born, I saw a message appear on Jordan's phone. I was holding Emma when I asked him about it. Jordan did not apologize. He did not even look ashamed. He simply said, "I'm with Percy now. We've been together for more than a year. I don't want to waste the rest of my life with a woman I'm no longer attracted to." I remember looking down at my daughter, because I could not bear to look at him. My body had changed after 4 pregnancies. I was tired. My hair was tied in a careless knot. There was baby formula on my shirt. Jordan looked at me as though those things made me worthless. Percy was his secretary. She was 25, tall, polished, and always dressed as if she were walking into a magazine photo shoot. Jordan said she made him feel alive again. A week later, he moved out. The divorce became the darkest year of my life. Jordan fought over everything. He argued about the house, our savings, and even the furniture. He claimed his company shares had lost value, but he refused to provide complete records. My lawyer, David, suspected Jordan was hiding money, but we did not yet have proof. The worst damage was not financial. It was what Jordan's words did to me. Every night, after the children were asleep, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and studied every line on my face. I blamed my body. I blamed my age. I blamed myself for becoming too ordinary. Then Liam's 15th birthday approached. He wanted one thing: a huge pool party with his family and friends. I wanted to give him one normal, happy day. I ordered pizza, rented speakers, decorated the backyard, and invited nearly everyone he knew. 3 days before the party, Jordan sent me a message. "I'll be there," he wrote, "and I'm bringing Percy. She is part of my family now." I stared at that sentence until my hands started shaking. Jordan was not bringing her for Liam. He was bringing her for me. He wanted to walk into the home we had shared, with a young beautiful woman on his arm, and watch me pretend it did not hurt. That night, I made a foolish decision. I contacted a local acting agency and asked whether I could hire someone to pretend to be my boyfriend for 3 hours. I did not want romance. I wanted armor. The agency replied the next morning. They said an actor named Clark Sterling was available. When Clark arrived at my house on the day of the party, I almost canceled the plan. He was tall, calm, and sharply dressed in a navy suit. He looked more like a powerful executive than an actor earning a few $100s for an afternoon performance. "You must be Sarah," he said. I suddenly felt embarrassed. This was a bad idea, I told him. "You don't have to stay." Clark studied me for a moment. "Did your ex-husband make you believe a man like me could never be interested in a woman like you?" The question struck harder than I expected. I looked away. Clark lowered his voice. "Then let me help you prove that his opinion no longer controls your life." I should have questioned how much he seemed to know. Instead, I thanked him. For the first hour, Clark played his role perfectly. He helped serve drinks, talked with my neighbors, and made Liam laugh. He never touched me in a way that felt uncomfortable. He simply stood near me with quiet confidence. Then Jordan arrived with Percy. Jordan wore an expensive white shirt and a gold watch I had never seen before. Percy wore a bright red dress and high heels that were completely wrong for a pool party. She held his arm and looked around my home as if she were inspecting property she planned to own. Jordan saw Clark beside me. For one brief second, jealousy crossed his face. Then he laughed. He looked Clark up and down and said, "He would never be with you. Have you looked at yourself in a mirror lately?" The words hit me in front of our children, our neighbors, and Liam's friends. My face burned. Before I could respond, Clark stepped forward. He smiled politely and held out a small black gift box. "I brought something for the birthday boy's father," he said. Jordan frowned. "Why would you bring me a gift?" Clark's smile did not change. "Because after today, you may not receive many more." Jordan opened the box and screamed. The box fell from Jordan's hands and struck the concrete. The lid opened. Photographs slid across the patio beside a red leather ledger, a pair of glittering decorative handcuffs, and a heavy gold USB drive. Jordan staggered backward. Percy's confident smile vanished. She lunged for the photographs, but Clark placed one shoe over them. "Leave them," he said. His voice had changed. The friendly actor was gone. In his place stood a man with cold authority. Percy stared at him. Then Clark said, "Or should I call you Penelope Vance?" Jordan turned toward her. "Who is Penelope?" Percy tightened her grip on his arm. "This man is crazy," she said. "We should leave." But Jordan had already seen one of the photographs. It showed Percy in a wedding dress, kissing an older man outside a courthouse. A date was printed in the corner. The photograph had been taken 3 weeks earlier, while she was supposedly planning a future with Jordan. Jordan picked up another image. Percy was handing a briefcase to a tattooed man beside a sports car. A third photograph showed her using a different name. A fourth showed her with a man and 2 children in another state. Jordan's mouth opened, but no sound came out. I looked at Clark. "I hired you from an acting agency," I whispered. "Who are you?" Clark turned to me. "My name really is Clark Sterling," he said. "But I am not an actor." He claimed he was the chief operations officer of Sterling Global, the company that had recently purchased Jordan's employer. He said his team had spent months investigating money disappearing from corporate accounts. According to Clark, Jordan had helped bypass security systems and transfer millions of dollars. Percy had encouraged him. Clark said she was a professional con artist who targeted middle-aged executives with money, access, and fragile egos. She made them feel young and powerful. Then she collected their passwords, moved their assets, and disappeared. Jordan dropped to his knees. He looked at Percy like a child begging a parent to deny a nightmare. "Tell me he's lying," he said. Percy stared down at him. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then her face changed. The sweet expression disappeared. Her eyes turned hard. "You were easy," she said. "You were so desperate to believe a young woman wanted you that you ignored every warning." Jordan began to cry. "You said I was your soulmate." Percy laughed. "You were a middle-aged man with access codes." The guests gasped. Jordan looked around the patio as if someone might rescue him from the humiliation. No one moved. He had spent months showing Percy off. He had told friends that leaving me was the best decision he had ever made. He had called her proof that he was still young and desirable. Now the same people watched her describe him as a target. Jordan grabbed the red ledger. "What did you do with my accounts?" Percy smiled. "You mean the money you hid from your company in your divorce? It's gone." His face collapsed. He whispered, "My savings. Gone. My stock. Gone. The money from the house account. Gone." Jordan looked sick. Then Clark raised one hand. The wooden side gate opened. 4 uniformed officers entered with 2 men in dark suits. One of them displayed a badge and announced that Penelope Vance was under arrest for wire fraud, corporate theft, and conspiracy. Percy shouted and fought as they placed handcuffs on her. The 2 suited men collected the ledger, the photographs, and the gold USB drive as evidence. One of them then turned toward Jordan. He said Jordan would also need to answer questions about missing corporate funds. Jordan looked at me. "Sarah, help me?" For a year. I had imagined that moment. I had imagined Jordan regretting what he had done. I thought seeing him broken would heal me. But as I looked down at him, I felt something quieter. I felt free. "You did not lose me today," I said. "You lost me the day you looked at the mother of your children and decided loyalty mattered less than your ego." Jordan crawled one step closer. "I made a mistake." "No," I said. "A mistake happens once. You lied for more than a year. You hid money. You humiliated me. And today, you brought Percy here to hurt me in front of our son." Liam walked over from the pool. He stood between us. "Dad," he said, "this is my birthday. You brought her here because you wanted Mom to feel bad. You need to leave." Jordan stared at him. Liam's voice trembled, but he did not step away. "You left us," he continued. "Do not use us now because you are scared." The Jordan rose slowly. The two men in suits guided him toward the gate. Before he left, he looked back at me with tears running down his face. I did not look away. When the gate closed, the backyard stayed silent. Then Liam walked to the speaker, raised the music, and shouted, "The pool is still open." The teenagers cheered. Clark stood beside the outdoor kitchen, watching everything with a small smile. I walked over to him. "You planned that reveal here," I said. "Yes. You could have arrested them somewhere else." "Wes, why do it at Liam's party?" Clark looked toward Jordan's empty chair. "Jordan planned to humiliate you publicly," he said. "I thought he should experience the same thing. I should have been suspicious. Instead, I felt seen. That was exactly what Clark wanted." The party continued until sunset. Clark helped Liam carry empty pizza boxes into the house. He spoke kindly to my older daughters and made the neighbors laugh. By the time the final guest left, he seemed less like a stranger and more like someone who belonged there. The backyard became quiet. I poured 2 glasses of wine. Clark removed his suit jacket and placed it on a stool. "I'll take the trash to the curb," he said. "Then perhaps we can discuss whether our fake date should become a real dinner." I laughed for the first time in months. "Maybe." He walked around the side of the house with 2 trash bags. I placed his wine beside his jacket. Then a phone buzzed inside the pocket. The jacket shifted, and the phone slid onto the counter. The screen lit up. I did not intend to read the message, but the words were directly in front of me. "Target secure. Penelope is out of the cuffs. We have the drive. Meet at the airstrip in 45 minutes. Finish with the wife and leave." I stopped breathing. Penelope was out of the cuffs. Finish with the wife. The sender's name was Miller. Miller was the man who had shown me a federal badge. My fingers became cold. I picked up the phone. It was not locked. There was a conversation already open. Miller had written, "Jordan believed everything." Clark had replied, "He was too frightened to think." Another message asked whether Penelope had taken the USB drive. Clark answered, "Yes." The fake arrest worked. Everyone watched us carry the evidence through the gate. Then Miller asked about me. Clark's response was short. "Sarah is harmless. She believes I saved her." The words hurt almost as much as Jordan's betrayal. There was no corporate investigator. There was no heroic executive. The officers were actors. The federal agents were criminals. The arrest was a performance. Percy, Clark, and Miller were working together. Jordan had hidden stolen money on the gold USB drive. Percy had learned about it while pretending to love him. But if she simply disappeared, Jordan would search for her. So they designed a better exit. They made him believe the government had taken the drive. They staged a public arrest, carried the money out through my own gate, and left Jordan too terrified to ask questions. My request for a fake boyfriend had given them the perfect way inside. I had not hired Clark. His crew had intercepted the agency's email and sent him to my home. The side gate opened. Clark was returning. For 1 second, panic took control of me. Then I remembered something. Earlier, during the party, I had noticed that Miller's badge looked wrong. The lettering was too large, and the photograph was covered by cheap plastic. I had also noticed that the officers never asked witnesses to step back, never secured the scene, and never gave me a receipt for evidence taken from my property. At the time, I told myself I was imagining things, but I had not ignored my concern completely. While everyone watched Percy fight the officers, I had pressed the emergency button in my home security application. The button silently contacted the real police and saved camera footage to a protected cloud account. I had also done something else. Something Clark did not know. 3 months earlier, during the divorce, David and I discovered that Jordan owned a gold biometric USB drive. We believed it contained hidden financial records. I bought an identical-looking replacement online. I kept it in my purse, hoping I might one day get close enough to make a copy or identify what Jordan was hiding. When Clark's gift box fell open and everyone looked at Percy, I saw the gold drive on the ground. I recognized the fingerprint sensor. I placed my shoe over it. Then, I dropped my cheap replacement beside the photographs and slipped the real drive into the pocket of my cardigan. Clark's crew had left with a fake. The real drive was still with me. I returned Clark's phone to his jacket. Then I opened the security application on my own phone and checked the emergency status. The real police were already on their way. I activated the Pachio recording system and placed my phone face down beside the wine. Clark stepped back into the yard. "Trash is handled," he said with his charming smile. "Now, about dinner next Friday." "I don't think Friday will work," I replied. His smile weakened. Did I move too quickly? "No," I said. "You text too carelessly." The silence between us became heavy. Clark looked at his jacket. When he turned back to me, the warmth in his face was gone. "Well," he said, "that is unfortunate. You are not an executive." "No. Percy was never arrested." "No. And the people who took her were part of your crew." Clark gave a small laugh. "You understand quickly." I wanted him to keep talking. I needed his confession recorded clearly. "What was on the drive?" I asked. He studied me. $42 million in cryptocurrency, he said. "Money Jordan stole from his company over several years." "And Percy is your partner." "My wife." Clark stepped closer. "We have worked together for 10 years. Jordan was a perfect target. Greedy, vain, and convinced he was smarter than everyone else. You used me? You offered us an entrance," he said. "A lonely woman wanted a handsome stranger to make her ex jealous. We could not have designed a better invitation." He reached for his jacket. "Forget what you saw, Sarah. You got what you wanted." Jordan was humiliated. His mistress betrayed him. Your neighbors will talk about his downfall for years. And you leave with his stolen money. That money never belonged to Jordan. It does not belong to you either. Clark's expression hardened. You have 4 children in this house. Think carefully before you create a problem. His threat was soft. That made it more frightening. But I knew every word was being recorded. I forced myself not to look toward the security camera. Clark placed his jacket over one shoulder. "Go inside," he said. "Lock the door. By the time the real police understand what happened, we will be gone." He turned toward the gate. "Clark," I called. He stopped. "You are forgetting the most important part of a trick." He looked back. The audience must be watching the wrong object. I reached into my cardigan pocket and held up the real gold USB drive. Clark's face changed. For the first time that day, he looked frightened. He stared at the fingerprint sensor on its side. Then he looked at the jacket pocket where his phone rested. "No," he said. "The drive your friends carried away is a replacement." I told him. "It contains Liam's school projects and several family photographs." Clark moved toward me. I stepped back and raised my phone. "The real police are already coming," I said. "Your confession has been recorded, and my security cameras saved the faces and license plates of everyone in your crew." Clark stopped. His eyes moved toward the side gate. I heard a faint electronic click. Liam had locked it from inside the house. I had sent him a silent emergency message through our family security application while Clark was talking. The pool lights switched on at full brightness. The backyard became suddenly bright, leaving Clark exposed in the center of the patio. He looked toward the house. Liam stood safely behind the locked glass door with my 2 older daughters. One of them held a phone to her ear. Clark turned back to me. "You planned this? Not all of it?" I said. "But I learned something during my marriage. When a dishonest man believes a woman is weak, he becomes careless." Clark tried another approach. His voice softened. "Sarah, listen to me. Give me the drive and I will disappear. You will never see me again. No. We can split the money. No. $21 million would protect your children forever. That money was stolen. He smiled without warmth. So was your future. Jordan took 20 years from you. Consider this compensation. For a moment, he almost sounded reasonable. That was his talent. He could make greed sound like justice. But I had already spent a year learning what happened when I allowed another person to define what I deserved. I do not need stolen money to prove I won, I said. I need my children to know their mother did not become a criminal just because criminals hurt her. Clark's face tightened. Sirens sounded in the distance. He looked at the locked gate again. Then he moved quickly toward the back fence. A second set of lights flashed on beyond it. Police vehicles stopped in the alley behind the house. Clark had nowhere to go. He raised both hands. You do not understand the people involved, he said. Penelope and Miller will not forgive this. I am counting on them calling you. His eyes narrowed. I nodded toward his jacket. Your phone is still connected to the patio speaker. That part was not true. But Clark believed me. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the phone, and looked at the screen. That gave the real officers enough time to enter through the front of the house and surround the patio. Drop the phone, an officer ordered. Clark froze. Then he placed it slowly on the ground. The officers handcuffed him. Unlike the earlier performance, this arrest was quiet and controlled. A detective named Maria Alvarez listened as I explained everything. I showed her the security footage, Clark's messages, and the recording of his confession. I gave her the gold drive without trying to open it. Within minutes, federal financial investigators were contacted. Clark's phone began receiving calls from Miller. The police used those calls to locate the rented vehicle near a private airfield. Percy and Miller were arrested before they reached the plane. After the police left, it was nearly 3 a.m. My children sat with me in the living room. Emma slept against my chest. Liam sat on the floor near my feet. My older daughters stayed close on the couch. For a long time, none of us spoke. Then Liam asked, was Dad really stealing money? I don't know everything yet, I said. But it appears that way. Is he going to prison? I don't know. Liam looked down. He was angry with Jordan, but Jordan was still his father. Anger and love can exist in the same heart, especially in a child. I touched his shoulder. Whatever happens to your father is the result of his choices. It is not your fault, and it is not your responsibility to rescue him. Liam nodded, but his eyes filled with tears. I pulled him close. That was the moment my revenge changed. Until then, I had wanted Jordan to suffer because he had hurt me. But seeing Liam cry reminded me that justice was not about enjoying another person's pain. Justice was about stopping the harm. I wanted the truth exposed. I wanted stolen money returned. I wanted my children protected. I did not need Jordan destroyed for entertainment. He had already destroyed himself. The investigation lasted several months. Jordan had not simply hidden personal savings during the divorce. He had created false vendors, approved payments for work that never happened, and moved company money into digital accounts. Percy helped him transfer and conceal it while secretly collecting evidence for her own plan. Jordan believed they were building a private future together. Percy was preparing to steal everything. The gold drive contained access information, transaction records, and messages that connected all of them. Jordan was charged with embezzlement, wire fraud, obstruction, and hiding marital assets. Clark, Percy, Miller, and the fake officers faced charges for conspiracy, attempted theft, impersonating federal agents, and several earlier frauds discovered through their devices. David reopened the financial portion of my divorce case. Because Jordan had lied about marital property, the judge awarded me the house and a much larger share of the legitimate assets that remained. The company also established a lawful reward for information that led to the recovery of the stolen funds. I did not receive millions. I received enough to pay my legal expenses, protect the children's education, and rebuild without fear. That was more valuable than a fortune I would have spent my life hiding. Jordan asked to speak with me before he entered his plea. I agreed to one supervised meeting at David's office. When Jordan walked into the conference room, he looked 10 years older. He wore a plain gray suit and sat across from me with his hands folded. Then he whispered, "I am sorry." I waited. He looked up. "I thought Percy chose me because I was special. I thought leaving you proved I was still young. I thought the money would make me powerful. And now?" I asked. "Now I know I was a fool." "That is not an apology." He flinched. I continued. "You are sorry because Percy lied to you. You are sorry because you lost the money. You are sorry because you were caught. But have you ever asked what your choices did to our children?" I was cruel. "Yes," I said. "You were?" He cried quietly. A year earlier, his tears might have pulled me back into the role I knew too well. I might have comforted him. I might have mistaken his regret for change. But I was no longer responsible for protecting him from the consequences of his own decisions. "I do not hate you," I said. "But I will never take you back." Jordan looked at me with desperate hope collapsing in his eyes. "I still love you." "No," I replied. "You miss the life I built around you." "That is not the same thing." He asked whether the children would visit him. I told him that decision would be made carefully, with therapists, lawyers, and the children's well-being placed first. Then I stood. Jordan looked up at me. "Sarah, was any part of that day real?" I thought about Clark's smile, Percy's arrest, the fake badges, the real drive in my pocket, and the moment I finally trusted my own mind. "Yes," I said. "The part where I stopped believing I was weak." I left him in the conference room. Outside, the afternoon sun felt warm on my face. It came in ordinary moments. It came when I stopped covering the bathroom mirror. It came when I wore a dress because I liked it, not because I wondered whether a man would approve. It came when Liam laughed again, without checking whether I was sad. It came when my daughters began inviting friends home, without worrying about another argument. It came when Emma took her first steps across the living room floor and all 4 children cheered. The house became peaceful. Not empty, peaceful. On Liam's next birthday, we held another pool party. This time, there were no actors, no secret drives, and no strangers wearing fake badges. There was music, pizza, laughter, and a cake Liam said was too embarrassing because I had placed an old baby photograph of him on top. She handed me a small black gift box. For 1 second, everyone became silent. Then she laughed. "Do not worry. This one contains only a key." Inside was a silver keychain engraved with one sentence: "Trust the woman in the mirror." I held it tightly. Later that evening, after the guests left, I stood beside the pool alone. The water reflected the lights above me. A year earlier, I had looked at that reflection and seen a discarded wife. I saw every flaw Jordan had taught me to hate. Now I saw a mother who had protected her children. I saw a woman who had survived betrayal without allowing it to turn her cruel. I saw someone who had faced a liar, a thief, and a team of professional con artists, and had trusted herself long enough to uncover the truth. Jordan had believed youth made Percy valuable. Clark had believed loneliness made me easy to control. Both men had made the same mistake. They saw what they expected to see. They never saw me. I locked the patio door and walked through my quiet home, checking on each of my children before going to bed. Emma slept with one small hand curled beside her face. My daughters had fallen asleep while watching a movie. Liam was still awake, reading messages from his friends. "Good birthday?" I asked. "The best," he said. At my bedroom door, I stopped in front of the mirror. I did not search for wrinkles. I did not compare myself with Percy. I did not hear Jordan's voice. I smiled at the woman looking back at me. My revenge was not the day Jordan lost his money, his mistress, or his freedom. My revenge was the life I built after he tried to convince me I had none left. And that was the one thing no thief could ever take from me.